Welcome to episode 200 of the Muck Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary 200. What? I
don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. How dare you?
I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. I said, I'm in trouble.
I told you what would happen. I told you. There would be no conversation.
You put a post up and you're like, we're not doing anything.
That's how I predicted it last week.
And
not a lot of my predictions come true, but this one did, folks.
I was like, I'm in trouble.
Although, I'll tell you something funny. I was thinking on the way home, like, 200 would be so funny if, like, the zeros were boobs. I thought that would be really funny.
Hey.
That's what my mind was. I'm like, that would be a celebration.
Yeah,
boobs.
Yes, we love that.
Congratulations, I guess. Anything else going on?
It's a milestone.
We're
doing well.
Well,
we are.
That was what I have in my notes. So I'm definitely having this on the air. I'm not having this conversation with Tina off the podcast. But like, my goal was to do 5 seasons. Like, I figured if we could get through 5 seasons at some point, like when we went to that, what was that? Podfest.
Yes.
I was like, give it time, it builds, which I agree. But also, like, we are approaching season 5.
We are.
And I think that season 5, if there's not like an
upswing,
then also pair that with, like, at the end of season 5, towards the end of November, it's going to be a presidential election. And if these polls don't help me, because of Biden's age is throwing these polls off. But like, if there's even a chance that Trump gets reelected, I don't think I could sit here and do that again. Like, I don't know if I want to sit here and continue to go through this day in and day out with Trump being president. It would be very difficult.
I want to live in the United States.
Same.
I said to my husband, because I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
Because, I'm seeing, and I feel like I can't trust polls because
I understand, but there are some that came out that are pretty scary.
We were fooled with the Hillary and all of that. And so I feel like I'm still traumatized by that. And it's been a number of years, but I'm still traumatized.
Yes.
And my feeling is, if these polls are correct, where they're looking at where Trump is beating Biden on,
in big swing states.
Well, yes. Yes.
And the people who were the hardest,
like Pennsylvania. What's going on?
It's Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada.
Yes.
It's states where, and if you really like dig into the numbers, you see that it's younger voters. It's voters of color. And there are a lot of young Democrats who aren't supportive of our place in Israel and like helping Israel, and like that's not helping things either.
No.
It's his age. It's his age. And I just want to say something about last week. I don't ever want to make it sound like I think we should take a political stance on Israel so Biden gets reelected. Like, when I listened back to that, I was like, damn, does it look like I'm nervous about what Biden's going to do because he might not get... No, I want what's best for, like, the region.
Yes.
And, like, I, of course, would do a lot to make sure Biden gets reelected, short of, like, blowjobs on the side of the road. Like, I don't know. If we get close, I might be down for that. But like, I don't want it to ever sound like I think we should take a political stance just so that he gets reelected. Like, obviously not. This is a very dire situation there, and I get it. But like, please. But the age factor, which we have talked about, and even
ad nauseum,
and I go back and I think about all those conversations where I said, is anybody else going to step up? What was the plan when he got elected? He had 4 years to come up with a plan.
This is the thing.
And we've talked about this for 4 years, you and I.
4 years. This is the thing. They could have looked at the governor of Michigan.
Right? Me, my dream come true.
They could. There are people that I think could get elected that they could for 4 years have been like, listen.
Absolutely.
We're not gonna say anything, but you're the one we want. We're gonna work towards this. We're gonna do it. And Biden, he has done a lot.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, he has done a lot.
Yeah.
But people don't pay attention to that.
Right.
They don't pay attention to that. All they see, all young people see, is some old dude standing in front of them. That's all they see, and that's all they see.
Yeah.
That is it.
And also they don't feel, so he's done a lot for the economy, and it's on the upswing, but it's not moving very fast. But also I had read something like inflation is down, which means things aren't going to be cost more, but the prices are staying the same, right? Like we talk about home, even just going out to dinner, like those, whatever you were paying before, it's higher, but it's not going to come down. So people are feeling very hit hard in the economy, myself included.
Yes.
I always blame DeSantis for that kind of thing.
Well,
but, I mean, so the age is a real factor, and the fact that we are a year from an election, too late to kind of say I'm not running, and we're gonna now. All these Dems are gonna jump in. It's too late to get on the ballot. In Nevada, it's too late to get. You'd have a month, I think, to get on the ballot here in Florida and a couple other places in the South. Like they couldn't get on the ballot in New Hampshire, so it's like he's got to be the nominee, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get him elected. I just wish that there had been. You know, we have a real sensitivity issue when it comes to age. I do not swim in those waters, okay? We have said it many times. I asked for Dianne Feinstein to step down for fucking 5 years. She died in office. Yeah. I asked for Nancy Pelosi. I asked for Mitch McConnell, who he strokes out in front of the camera every day. And like, I don't have any respect for people who stay in office this long. I talked about the Broward County Commission. There's people sitting there who've been on there too long.
Let's go away.
And they're Democrats. I don't give a fuck. You are putting us in danger here. And you shouldn't be dying in your seats. You should not be. We shouldn't be paying you. I'm sorry to cut you off. The other side of it is this. It's the look of it all, right? Like, politics is a stage, it's a show, and what comes with youth and youthful presence in these roles of power and positions of power are progressive ideas. We need to move our party forward. That we should never be supporting a Democrat who's against abortion, for example. That should be a hard line. And we're seeing the results of that it's a Thursday night, it's November 9th, but on November 7th across the country, we saw that abortion is a number one swing issue. Yeah. It's not not partisan anymore. It's not partisan. It's not partisan to one party. No. And so when we have Nancy Pelosi just 2 years ago stumping in Texas for Henry Cuellar, who was a Democrat.
Losing that seat?
No, he won the seat.
I mean, losing the progressive person.
Right,
we had been in that seat.
In the primary, the progressive in the primary. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, what comes with you stepping back is our party moves forward. Yeah. And we don't have a visibility issue with, I think Joe Biden will be okay, but I do think it's going to heavily affect his election. And I'm sorry that we were too sensitive to talk about this 4 years ago, but I said in 4 years he's going to be 82 when he gets elected or whatever it was, and then he'll be 86 when he's why are we too old?
And we see how they do these things all the time. Like, look how gray somebody gets. Like, this job ages you more than the average job because of the level of stress. And listen, again, the guy has done wonderful things, and I'm not knocking that, but it's like, come on, like they had an opportunity. Yeah, they had an opportunity. He could have done the George Costanza and gone out on a high and said, "Look, guys, look, I saved us from Trump. I got these jobs. I did this infrastructure bill. I did this. I did this. I did this. Now, country." Here's a person I think would be the best person to fill my shoes, who's young and who's ready to go.
They didn't even do it with Kamala. How many times did we say, where's Kamala? For 4 years, they put her in the back room somewhere in the basement. And we're like, where is she? Where is she? Roe gets overturned. We're like, where's Kamala? Tina's screaming out, where's Kamala? They didn't even prop her out. Like, they didn't even give her, and that should have been the real sign that they had no plan. But we're talking about Democrats, and there's one thing you can count on. They never have a motherfucking plan. Ever. So nobody wants to have the uncomfortable conversation. We need to start having uncomfortable conversations. And with that comes planning and organizing, which means if we're going to ask this person or say, have that conversation, like, we can't support you anymore in the seat, but who do you have in mind to take your place? We need you to walk them through every single club and caucus around your district and introduce them and build them up, because they need the support now because you're stepping down. We need to start having those conversations, because if that if his age is the determining factor that he doesn't get reelected and instead we get someone who's the same age basically and insane, why didn't we have the conversation? It's ridiculous and short-sighted.
And the thing is, people like the progressives, we saw this week in 6 states.
It's incredible.
In 6 states, all of the Moms for Liberty candidates that ran got defeated. All of them. In Pennsylvania, 5 candidates were defeated last night, or at the time, because they were running on banning books and the same thing they're trying to do here with like slavery isn't real and let's try to silence our LGBTQ students and things like that. Virginia, 3 Moms for Liberty school board candidates got swept by larger margins than Pennsylvania. Iowa, 9 Moms for Liberty candidates lost their races. And in Minnesota, 4 Moms for Liberty candidates got wiped out. In North Carolina, their only candidate also suffered a defeat. So in all the states that they ran, nobody wants you.
Yeah, but you know who they do
Nobody wants you.
Moms Demand Action. Last I checked, it was 54 Moms Demand Action, which is a gun safety advocates. They're trying to ban assault weapons, etc. I believe, forgive me if that's wrong, but I know they're about gun legislation. Yeah. 55 of their candidates elected.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
People want, they are for these progressive ideas. And the other thing is, like, it's like, I feel like the Republicans are all about stifling what people want. Even like in the state of Florida, like this whole legalization of marijuana. And
the Florida Supreme Court's like, why are you trying to fight this?
Yeah,
they're laughing. They're fucking token up and they're like, what's the problem, motherfuckers?
And they're like, because it's illegal on the federal level. And the judge was like, yeah, it says that right here that, this is on a state level and it has nothing to do with the federal regulations and that those regulations are still in place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually, I just hope on the federal level they just get it together, because it's weird that you have all these states.
Yeah, no, it needs to be. So that's the other thing I was thinking about today. Like, to appeal to these young people, what could Biden be doing? That's something I think.
Student loan forgiveness.
That's the other thing. We heard about this during your election, sir.
But
and how many people?
It's not him. But he keeps getting stonewalled.
He could try. He could talk about it more. He could say, "This is what we want to do."
I mean,
there is something
out,
and that's the other thing. Like
week.
Again, this isn't me, but when I see on Twitter that more younger people are like, "Oh, you've got money to send to Israel, but you don't have money to forgive my student loan," like that's not me. This is what I'm reading.
No.
All I'm saying is like that's what they're seeing. And they're like, we've been waiting for you to do this. You said you were going to do this, and now you got money for the
And why should they trust you for another 4 years?
So
why should they trust you?
It's not my issue to have to fix. That's his campaign, but I'm going to make sure I do everything that I can to make sure he gets reelected.
Because we can't. Because if Trump wins,
no, honey,
it's over.
No, honey.
The United States, as we know it, is over.
Yeah, it's
over. It's already. We're already on the edge. We are on the edge. We are teetering on the edge. We're teetering on the edge, and
he'll never.
About to fall.
You'd have to pull him out of that office if he gets elected for 4 more years. Trump.
Oh.
Like he's not leaving again.
Oh,
like
no.
That would be a problem.
No.
In other news, the Senate. I don't know if you saw this today, but Manchin is out.
Oh yeah.
He's not running for re-election. So Joe Manchin, who's from West Virginia, he's a senator. It's scary because he's a Democrat who, hasn't done much good for us because he wants to compromise all the time. Yeah. But that's the type of Democrat. That's the type of Democrat that gets elected in West Virginia. So our numbers in the Senate aren't looking good now.
No. I am so worried about a House Senate control and then
Trump. Let me tell you right now, if abortion is the issue that everybody says it is, which we know that it is, because Ohio, God bless, the worst thing that could happen is a trifecta.
Yeah.
Because they absolutely will have a ban on abortion in this country.
Not only that, it'll be criminalized.
Yeah.
Women are going to be jailed and killed.
You got Mike Johnson
who knows what.
With Mike Johnson in the House.
Oh God.
As the speaker.
Who's cuckoo for Cocoa
It'll be the
Puffs.
first thing that they do. It'll be the first thing. Now Trump is very funny about this. He, we all love, I did Roe, I'm in charge, I'm in because of Roe. But now on the campaign trail, he knows, he's not stupid. He knows, and any other Republican knows after Tuesday, that this is a dying issue to run on. This is not an issue that people want to talk about, that people want to be involved in. Republicans thought that they could hold on to abortion and punish women back into the fucking dark ages. Even though in the dark ages, I think they had abortion. They think they can do this and they can, but it's not going to be good. Trump's been in court all week. It's been fucking hilarious. This motherfucker took a stand. Ivanka, the kids, girl. And then he's out there talking in court. This judge, he's antagonizing the person who's going to determine his sentence, his punishment, which is money at this point because this is a civil trial. He's already been found guilty. They didn't even have to present any evidence. The judge went over the evidence. There's no jury. The judge went over the evidence the first day, and he's like, this isn't a matter of guilty or not guilty. It's a matter of what are the damages. The damages. So now that's what they're trying to determine. Yeah. And he's just sitting there, and he even said this week, I don't have to be here, which I told you. He doesn't have to be there. He thinks it makes him look sympathetic. It's all about visuals with him. Ugh. But he keeps going into court, antagonizing the one person who's going to... And going back and forth with the judge and telling the judge, he's on the witness stand going on and on about bullshit. Oh, they asked him something about 2021. He goes, I don't know. I was busy with Russia and COVID or whatever.
And they're like, you weren't president.
The prosecutor's like, that you weren't president in 21. Like,
the guy's losing his marbles.
He's out of it.
But the thing that is scariest to me with a Trump presidency is he's someone that will go after who he thinks his political enemies are.
Oh, yeah. No.
And that, to me, is very scary.
Yeah.
I said to my husband, I said, listen, in the next few weeks, I want to roll the dice on, I gotta get my dual citizenship.
Girl, please, I don't know what you're waiting for.
I know, it's because it's a lot of money.
I know it's a lot of money, but won't it be worth it if you can be like, bye, and you're like fucking out?
Yes.
Girl.
So that's what I said. I said, I gotta do it for me and my kids. And then
you can have it done by November.
By next November.
By the time if he wins,
it depends because like the consulates sometimes are like 2-3 years backed up.
I would be doing this right now.
I want to pay.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And just say, look, like, what do I pay to get fast tracked?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care at this point. Like, just
do it.
So right now, that's what I'm looking for. If somebody knows a company, but I'm looking for a company, I just want to say, here's my money.
Yeah.
Do it for me and let me know when it's done. I don't want to deal with the paper. I don't want to go get the apostille. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I have all the stuff I need. I want to either give it to you, you do something with it. But I did find a place. I was researching last night, and I'm like, I gotta just do it. I gotta bite the bullet and do it.
So last night in Florida and Miami was the Republican debate.
Oh my god.
It was, I gotta tell you.
I couldn't watch it.
It's such a shit show, and I've never seen people work so hard for a job they are never gonna have. Like, they're not even close to getting the job. And I don't know what they're campaigning for. And here's something I noticed, a couple things, but one thing I really noticed is that I don't know if anybody outside of Florida and even anybody in Florida doesn't really pay attention, but like to me, DeSantis has always been this like scary, looming figure. Like, we were always scared about what was going to happen each session because he just seems out of fucking control all the time with what he wants to have done. Like, even right now with this stupid special session they just had. But, like, he's always been this imposing, scary guy. He
doesn't come off that way.
Not like, no, he's goofy. But I mean, what he's willing to do is fucking scary here, right? But when you see him on the stage like this.
He's a goofball.
He's so... he looks small even.
He's minuscule.
It's so wild to me.
That's why he's got those shoes, girl.
Oh my god, these shoes.
Oh, him walking in the shoes, his facial, everything about this guy.
Oh my god, his nervous tics, his weird fucking shit.
It's so awkward.
Yeah, it is. Here's the other thing that was funny yesterday. So Tim Scott, who's a senator from South Carolina, and he's in the race as well to run for president. Virtually nobody. I think he just barely made it into this debate. There's only like 5 people up there. So yesterday, I don't know if there are questions about like why he's not married yet. I don't know. He's got to be in his 35, 40 maybe. Anyway, they trotted out a girlfriend. And I was like, that looks familiar. Oh, so it's a girlfriend that appears during campaign time when we all know what that means. But they're holding hands in front of the camera and she kind of goes to walk away and he's trying to hold her. It was the most awkward shit I've ever fucking seen.
What are people
eerily
doing?
familiar to our former governor and last candidate for governor here. Eerily familiar. We're all in Florida familiar with somebody gets a girlfriend right around campaign time. We all know what that means. I didn't realize Tim Scott was in that same boat.
It's 2023. Can we stop already?
Who gives a shit?
Who cares?
You're never going to win.
Your relationship doesn't have anything to do with how you're going to govern.
Yeah, and also, guys, let me say something else. The only one who really tries to go at him is Chris Christie, who I don't even think really goes at him as much as he should. Because he's got some sort of vendetta against Trump, whatever. Waste your time, go on. But here's the thing. Like, why even do this? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing out there? He's not going to pick you for VP. Like, he doesn't like any of you motherfuckers. Like, what are you doing?
That's the one thing I'm curious about.
Who's the VP?
Who's the VP? Because I swear to God, if it ends up being like Cuckoo Magoo, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or, you know what
probably.
I mean? Like,
I wouldn't doubt any of that.
Like one of these crazy fringe people, or like
anybody who can help
Matt Gaetz.
Well, think about Mike Pence.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
Mike Pence was chosen because he was quieter. He was it was the religious, of course, the very religious. You get the evangelicals. Oh. It was to balance that ticket. I don't know how you balance Trump now. And all we can hope is for some convictions. We got to get some convictions before November because that'll knock him off his fucking pedestal. That's for sure. I saw this amazing thing today that State Rep Anna Eskamani filed on Monday. It's called the Emergency Property Insurance Program. And I don't know why we haven't tried to do this before, but I thought it was incredible. Basically, homeowners would be eligible for a one-time grant of up to $2,500 to pay for their property insurance. Or the amount of what their annual premium increase, whatever the increase is. So if you went from $4,000 to $6,000, you'd get a $2,000.
Mine went up like almost $2,000.
Oh my God, Tina!
We are paying.
No.
We were just looking at it today. It's a little over $8,000.
Oh my God!
Just in the insurance, and that's not including our taxes. Like we're paying $15-some thousand a year. Like I don't know if people understand that for like regular people. You know, like, well, I'm not rolling in money. I feel like I make a decent salary, you know, but Tina, $15,000 is a lot, not including our mortgage payment. You know what I mean?
God.
Not including our bills.
Is yours escrowed into your mortgage payment, or do you pay it?
Is. Okay, it is. Yeah. But then we all, like, last year we had to pay. Like,
the only thing that's, I'm telling you,
the escrow didn't cover it.
The only thing that the only thing that helped me were those credits for the windows and the doors, or the windows and the roof. Yeah, like that's all.
That's what I'm hoping on.
Like that's it.
But the other thing is, all of these, like, there's so many incentives, like federal incentive. I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. There are different federal incentive programs that you can do for getting hurricane windows, for doing things where you can get like an additional rebate on a federal level that DeSantis has like now we are not eligible for in the state of Florida. Everybody else can. The state where there's hurricanes would be nice, you know, to be able to get hurricane windows and get like another like rebate for doing something like that. Like there's no.
Do you think you need a new roof?
Yeah. No, we did our roof. I think our roof is like 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so our roof is good.
Windows? Do you have windows and doors?
We have our hurricane windows and doors, except we have a back room that does not.
So you don't get the credit for it, right?
No, because you have to have everything. So that's our next step is like, we got to do that.
Do that area, and you could apply for the rebate.
$20,000.
I know, but apply for that $10,000 rebate through the state. Yeah. It's a 7-month-long process to get it.
I'll do it. But
you can get half that money, and it's like you do have to pay up front, but then you get the $10,000 back. So,
but it's stressful. It's stressful.
I don't know. I got to tell you, and there's no solution. Like there's nothing. So I love this, and I wanted to read her quote. She said it's Rep Anna Eskamani said it's a quote. It's a short-term solution, but we know that many families that are fiscally restrained, they cannot afford to maintain a home because of the rate of their property insurance. Like I feel like if you don't vote for this or like go along with this, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong.
You know, you're the people in your districts are suffering no matter where you are. No matter where you are, they're suffering. This would be huge for people. For your insurance to go from $6,000 to $8,000, you can apply to get a $2,000 rebate.
Next year?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, and when you have a mortgage, you are tied. You have to have that wind insurance.
Yeah.
You can't opt out.
Yeah, it's...
And so again, you have a situation where people who are flush with money and have no mortgage can choose to not pay that $10,000. So that's another 10 grand in their pocket, right? And that's 2 years. They can have a new roof. You know what I mean?
It's really scary.
And then the people who maybe have their houses paid off, but don't have a lot of money, and then are not paying for that. What's going to happen when something happens and they can't replace their roof and they can't replace their windows? Like, it's really...
Or if their insurance company bails because they don't have enough money to pay out to people.
I mean, we are in such a mess.
It's time. Let's start making the plans. We got to make plans.
We got to get the hell out of here.
To get out.
Yeah.
We have to make plans to get out. It does not make financial sense to continue to live in Florida. And so, there's many reasons why it's a lost cause. And I want to say this, that I will no longer comment on the Florida Democratic Party. Last week, I realized watching that episode and editing and listening to it, one, I'm completely embarrassed half the time when I go back and listen to it that I behave that way, but it's just the realest anger you could ever imagine, because we know the errors that this party is making when they don't plan and they don't organize. And we also know the errors in manipulating situations or not being as honest as you could be in the work that needs to be done. And so when I say like DeSantis is scary or we can't afford to live here, and then I think, like I've always thought my whole life, that the Democrats are going to come in and they're going to help us, right? We're the good guys.
Yeah,
they're going to come in and we're going to have good representatives and they're going to make things right, because that's how I was raised. I was raised in a Democratic household. Like, this is who we are. We're the good guys, right?
Well,
and so like I can't sit by and continue to comment or criticize an organization that, quite frankly, is dead. I feel sorry for the folks that are still working in there or have hope. I feel like I had a lot of hope on Tuesday night, but this is what always happens. There's always these massive changes in sweeping across other states for Democrats, and then when it comes here, it doesn't happen. And so you start to get your hope up, but then November comes and it's just everything's deflated. Again, I'll be excited when Biden wins, but I know that Rick Scott will get elected. I know we're going to have losses here, and it's very difficult to live through it and to know there's no help coming. There's no hope coming.
Where's the Calvary?
And it's disappointing to watch the failures or lack of taking responsibility for, like, what does a real plan look like? How many volunteers do you really need? What's the boots on the ground look like? How are you helping clubs and caucuses, especially county caucuses? Like, what are you doing to really help these folks? And I think a lot of these caucuses have been doing fine because they know the state level isn't coming. I guarantee if we were to move to Orange County and go to an Orange County Democrats meeting, it would look a lot different than when we go to a Broward Democratic meeting. Because Orange County, Hillsborough County,
Very
Jacksonville,
active.
They've had to fight from being red to go blue. And so when you live in a blue county that's had blue forever, they take all that for granted.
Yeah, and we know this week that there's a big push to flip Broward.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
There's a
huge push
to flip Broward, and that scares me too, because it's our school board, it's our commission seats, it's our county seats, it's our house seats, it's our state seat.
And they're hitting the road so hard that they are paying mileage. You drive people around, they'll pay you mileage. The GOP here, they have a ground game.
They're flush with money
that has been active for a long time, especially the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and Broward is their target,
right? And because they thought about it. They thought about it. How do we win? What do we need to do? And they're taking action. And not to say that the Democratic Party isn't taking action, but it's the same. I mean, it's the same thing, right? This Tesla gun zone. We're saying the same thing over and over. Like the playbook, I think, has stayed the same for the Dems. And I think that maybe it's just time to revamp or to look at where are our weaknesses? Where aren't we winning? What are they doing that we're not doing? How can we, because I'll tell you, someone very close to me switched parties. Democrat, gone. Lifelong Democrat. A lifelong Democrat has went online and switched to NPA. And the statement to me was, this isn't, I'm not voting for Democrats. I'm only voting against Republicans because there is no faith in the Democratic Party. And this is someone who donates money every year, who will donate to campaigns. And maybe you don't see this person's face, but there's a lot of people like that who sit at home and go, I'm a Democrat, these are what I believe in, and will give money stuff, will never give another dime to the Democratic Party, who has said to me, no one has ever reached out to me from the Broward Democratic Party. I don't know when events are. I don't know when things are happening. Nobody contacts me. And, something happened recently, and that was the last straw, and the person's out. And that's...
I don't blame them.
And how many other people are we losing?
We know there's tons. Because the NPA number in Broward alone has doubled. It's insane. It's insane.
And I think it's some people who are sick of the Republican Party, and I think it's a lot of people sick of the Democratic Party. But if the Democrats were smart, they would do something, do some kind of survey, put something out, make some phone calls and say, hey, we noticed that you switched parties. Why? What can we do to get you back? What are the things that you're worried about? What is it that we're not touching on? Get to the root cause of why people are leaving and find out what they want from you as a party.
Also, I guarantee that when I say Orange County, I guarantee that Escamani and Frost, which I think are the stars of that area, I guarantee you those districts are fucking on fire. I guarantee that those are the people who show up at those county. Listen, there was a guy just outside Keene. His name's Keene. He just won the primary, the Democratic primary. It was right outside Orange County. He wasn't supported by the party. He's the progressive candidate that the party, of course, they don't endorse anybody before the primary. So the second he won, the next day, he was right up there. Oh, we endorse this guy. Yeah, because he fucking won his primary. And it was goddamn blood, sweat, and tears. But I don't know. There's no excitement. There's no push to
There's no strong,
because who I think is really kind of incredible is Jared Moskowitz, our congressman, Congressman Jared Moskowitz. And I know I've goofed. Smart. He's funny, he's quick, he's smart, he's young, he's energetic. I know I've made fun of those pumps, those shoes he wears because they're the Nike whatever, Air Jordans. He's got the sneaker caucus.
Yeah.
We need you, bro.
Yeah.
We need you to come back to Broward and energize.
Yeah.
Start pumping your time into all these, get people out. I know he's busy, I get it. But he could be one of these people here who gets people going. It's not going to be a Wasserman Schultz. Who also, what are we doing? Jared Moskowitz, absolutely. He can really energize people and get people going. He's not bullshitting. So why aren't, come on. And by the way,
he's very direct.
If we had the county chair, Broward County chair could be getting him to come out. Come on. This is who we need giving speeches. This is who we need. I just wish we could think outside the box and hey bro, we need your help.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about the issues and talking about what's important with people who are under the age of 60.
Yeah.
Because it's our state and we're the ones who are trying to pay our mortgages and trying to put our kids through school and trying to fucking survive out here.
And the thing is, the Republicans are going after the MPAs. And they're going after the Democrats who are considering switching to be that is their plan. That is their plan. How are we targeting our MPAs? What are we doing? All right.
So anyway, that's it.
We're done.
I'm not gonna do it anymore. Here's the last reason is this. When I was on that video when I was watching it last week, and I said, I'm a nobody, I'm nothing, like, that's a fact. Like, I used to be heavily involved, and I'm sure a lot of people still know who I am or whatever, but, like, I'm not involved anymore. But there are people who could be doing this and saying these things that aren't doing it, and if they're not doing it, why the fuck do I care? Like, I can't continue to denigrate this group of people who aren't even up for a change. Like, they're not looking for it. So why am I pushing so hard? Why am I wasting my time and energy? And quite frankly, my beautiful, youthful skin. Right? I'm like in the screen going like this, and I'm like, oh, honey, your face, no. Stop it. We got to stop those frown lines. We need to
turn those frowns upside down.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, my last thing is this. There is a hour-and-a-half YouTube video that is just from season 1 to I think season 11. The interactions between Larry David and Richard Lewis on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh.
It's the greatest fucking thing. I watched an hour-and-a-half video of this.
Of just that.
It's so good. It's so good.
I watched the episode the other night where Larry comes home from working on the Martin Scorsese film. Yeah. And he's like, where's mom? And his dad's like, hi.
Oh my God, the month of the...
He's like, and she was in the hospital, she wasn't feeling, and he goes, oh, she's in the hospital? Well, no, she's not in the hospital anymore. And he's like, oh, okay, well, where is she? And he's like, well, she's dead. And he's like,
no, he asked first, he goes, did she die?
No, did she die?
He goes, yeah. No, don't the last thing she said to me was, don't bother Larry. Whatever you do, don't bother Larry. He's making a movie. He's like, this is the funeral. And the cousin comes in and goes, where are you? Call me. Nobody called. Everybody's asking, where's Larry?
But then he starts using it, and there's like, where Richard Lewis has like this mantra, and he calls him, and he's like, he's like, well, I want the mantra back, and they go back, and he goes, my mother died, and he's like, well, all right.
Yeah, that was a good part of that.
So funny.
So good.
So funny.
So after watching this, I also saw this week that, and this is my absolutely last thing, is that Patrick Dempsey was named by People Magazine Sexiest Man Alive, which I then watched him on. He's never been Sexiest Man Alive. Did you know that?
When he was McDreamy?
No.
So
he's always like honorable mention.
So I never watched that show where he was McDreamy.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I don't even remember the name of the show. It's the doctor show.
Yeah.
But I love him, and he is in
Can't Buy Me Love.
Can't Buy Me Love.
I was thinking about that movie.
So my other favorite movie, and I can't remember the name of it, but he plays a kid who they order the pizza with anchovies.
That means he can have sex with them.
Yes.
What is it called?
He's trying to raise money.
Yes, it's so good. Hold on.
It's so funny.
He has sex with the women.
Yes, and then his mom, remember?
Yes, orders the pizza.
Orders the pizza and he gets to the place. And
pizza movie.
Oh my God.
Lover Boy, and Can't Buy Me Love were on a loop when we were kids.
Can we please do a movie night?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yes.
Oh my God.
So here's my
watch with the kids too.
So when I saw that, I saw an interview with him on Jimmy Kimmel, and he looked so cute. He still looks so.
He's
what
gorgeous.
The fuck is this, by the way? That
He's
people
gorgeous.
can actually get. And by the way, nothing done. There's nothing done on that face. No.
But he still looks good because he
looks fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. So, but here's what I'm saying. This is all I'm saying. After watching this Larry David video, like, my plea to People Magazine is this: why don't you consider an old bald Jew for Sexiest Man Alive? Okay, Larry David is due his comeuppance. Is that the right? He's due. He is funny. He is sexy.
Oh, hi.
He's
bald.
He's rich. He's hot.
All right.
What the fuck
he's brilliant.
Like, we can all agree.
Brilliant.
He's brilliant. We always Patrick Dempsey. Okay, but why don't you go take a chance on a Larry David? I think he's very attractive. I may be alone in this, but I don't think so.
No, I
don't think so.
I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but I think he's a brilliant guy.
Oh, honey, he's my cup of tea. He's my whole meal. He's my dessert.
Ooh, hi.
Give it to me.
Okay.
I want all of it. That's it. Anyway, lots to talk about up front. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yes, let's go. Go.
All right, today.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the story of the race riot aboard the USS Kitty Hawk. We haven't done this, right?
No.
Okay, good. Because I did it and I'm like, I don't remember this.
Holy shit.
All right, so the USS Kitty Hawk race riot shook the Navy, highlighting deep racial divides. But
shocked.
When black sailors faced charges while white ones walked free,
what?
It exposed a painful injustice within the ranks.
You know what this reminds me of? That Alabama dock riot or fight.
Yeah.
Remember over the summer there was that Alabama fight on the dock?
So this story takes place
terrible.
in the South China Sea in 1972 in the middle of the Vietnam War.
Oh no.
So some background, and I got so much of this from the Navy Times. Like it just gave an exhaustive, extensive account, and that's where I got a lot of this. So thank you. So in October 1972, the USS Kitty Hawk had already been deployed about 8 months. Okay. So that's a long time to be aboard a ship, right? Like, and it's during the Vietnam War.
Dudes.
Yeah, you're
small quarters.
And there's really nowhere to go. And for some of it, they couldn't even be at shore. So like they're out in the ocean.
Oh my God.
So like at least like when you're docked or whatever, like you can have some shore leave. None of that's happening like for a lot of time because they're like in the middle of a war.
Right.
So according to the Navy Times, it was pretty intense because of the war, and they were dealing with the flight operations to help support the troops. So like, you know, the planes are taken off of the ship. So things are tense emotionally for everyone, but remember that at the same time at home, there is a lot of pressure to pull out of the Vietnam War. There are protests against the war that are going on, and we're sort of coming out of the civil rights movement, right? So there's like racial tensions. So all of this stuff is happening around the same time. And the Navy Times reported that at the time, aboard that ship, there were about 4,500 sailors, and only 302 of those sailors on the USS Kitty Hawk were black, which is only about 6.7%. So there's a large amount of white soldiers and a small amount of black. And the article also notes that at the time, not only on the Kitty Hawk, but in the Navy in general, that people of color, and specifically black folks, would end up getting the worst jobs on the ship, where their white counterparts were getting the better, more high-tech jobs on board. And the jobs they had, like, it was like working in the engine room, which is
hot,
super hot. It's small spaces. It's like really hard work, and the pay was minimal compared.
So what was happening in the States in regular jobs is also happening
in the Navy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's white privilege, right? That the white recruits passed this qualification exam at higher rates than black recruits did, because it has a lot to do with like their level of education, right? And the level of education that a lot of whites received growing up versus what blacks at the time, because you're thinking they're growing up like in the 50s, right? And because we're just dealing with segregation and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's not equal. There's no, the equity isn't there. Yes, everyone's getting an education, but the quality of education was not equal in certain areas of the country. And a lot of people join the Navy, right, to get a GI Bill and to do these things, like to have a career or to find a way out, right?
Yeah.
So that's the situation on board, and because of that qualification exam, like it kind of starts separating people. So this is from the Navy Times as well. According to Dr. John Sherwood, author of Black Sailor, White Navy, and a historian at the Navy History and Heritage Command, in the early 1970s, racial tensions were somewhat new in the Navy. In a January interview with the Navy Times, Sherwood said that, quote, "The first misconception is that the Navy suffered a lot of racial unrest in the 60s. Racial unrest in the Navy really started in the early 70s. So, and that's right around when this thing is happening. So before the major incident, there was tension building up on this boat. So the Navy Times reported that on October 4th, when some of the men were on shore leave, so there was like time where they did have some shore leave, there was a fight that broke out at a club between white and black sailors. So they're on shore leave, and like,
Jesus,
they're at this club, and somebody says whatever it is, and
try to enjoy yourself,
and this fight breaks out. And then on another night, the black sailors allegedly wanted payback, So then another fight breaks out at a different club.
Oh my gosh.
And Marines were actually called in to break up the fight.
Oh my gosh.
And then the article notes that the sailors returned to the boat that night bruised and bloody, like both sides, because this brawl breaks out. So I do want to stress, like, these guys have been on this boat a really long time, right? And so they're getting antsy. And the other thing is, like, the boat got called to go home, and they were heading back home, and then they got called back.
Oh, no.
And then they were heading back home, and then they got called back again.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Holy
a very
shit.
long time that they're gone.
Yeah.
So the major incident, according to the Navy Times, the incident began over a sandwich. So allegedly, now remember on October 4th, there's the fight at the bar, and then there's another fight at a bar, and now this like a couple days later, right? And they're on board. So allegedly on October 11th, a black sailor named Terry Avenger, he requested an additional sandwich, but he was told, it was a grilled cheese sandwich, and he was told he could only have one sandwich, which I get, like I'm sure they're rationing out the food or however everybody gets one. But another article that I read from History of the Navy Military notes that a white sailor ahead of Avenger, he was permitted to have 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. So this guy's like, why can't I have a grilled cheese sandwich? So when Avenger is denied, he reaches for the extra sandwich anyway. And then he and the white sailor who was serving the sandwiches, they get into this screaming match.
Oh my gosh.
So later, Avenger was overheard saying he was upset that he, quote, didn't just beat the racist cracker's ass right there. So the Navy Times...
Listen, I'm sorry, but grilled cheese is so fucking good.
One, it's good, and two,
I'm hungry.
And
he's working all day. He's fucking hungry.
If this other guy gets 2 sandwiches, why can't he get 2 sandwiches? You know what I mean? Like, it's
These
not
guys
right.
are hungry.
It's not right.
Middle of a fucking
It's
war.
not right.
Who else? Everybody. Grilled cheese for everybody.
Yeah. Or just tell the other dude, no, you get one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't sit there and, like, play favorites with people and not expect people to get upset about it.
No, that's messed up.
So... the Navy Times indicated that things escalated from there, and hours after the sandwich incident, the story goes that black sailors, following Avenger's lead, roamed the ship and started attacking white sailors.
Oh boy.
So again, this is coming from the Navy Times account. The attack described was pretty violent. The men allegedly used makeshift weapons that included broom handles, wrenches, and pipes, and supposedly they found the mess cook from earlier beaten to a pulp.
No!
Yeah. So David Courtwright, who wrote an article on Black Resistance, was cited in CNN as saying, quote, the fighting spread rapidly throughout the ship, with bands of blacks and whites marauding through the decks and attacking each other with fists, chains, wrenches, and pipes. So this account shows it wasn't just the black sailors, that it was the black and the white sailors that were both fighting. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, the poor white sailors and they're getting attacked. It seemed like, according to some other articles, that this wasn't, they were equally fighting each other. So from there, things only get worse. So what happens is they bring in this black commanding officer. So there weren't a lot of blacks who were in positions of higher ranking. And this commanding officer, Ben Cloud, and he was one of the first black men to hold that rank of commanding officer. He approached the black sailors and told them, quote, you have a brother who's an executive officer, end quote. And he continued to talk to them, calm the situation down, and when the sailors raised their fist in this black power salute,
boy.
They expected Cloud to return the gesture.
Uh-oh.
And he does.
He does?
He does, because he's like, okay, I'm with you guys, like, you know, but he does, I get, like, there's another sort of like a higher ranking person than Cloud that witnesses it and doesn't like that he did that, right? Because, like, you're with the Navy and, you know. But according to the Navy Times, things didn't settle down. The fighting and the attacks continued, and Cloud had to come back and intervene again, getting them to drop their weapons. And by 2:30 in the morning,
dang,
it's like finally kind of over. So what happens is, and this is, I'll get into it, but so there were charges. So court-martials happened. 21 of the men were charged for starting the riot. No white sailors were charged. It was only the black sailors, and not to mention that the only evidence that the prosecution was using was coming from white witnesses. right? And so already it's not fair. And at the time, the New York Times covered the incident, citing one Black Navy official as saying, quote, "Anytime you have a so-called race riot and you lock up 25 Blacks, that has to raise some questions, right? Because why is it only the Black men getting arrested?" And then Military History Now, they did these investigative interviews, and they talked about these investigative interviews that were done. And again, they were held primarily with the white sailors and not the Black ones. So they're not, even Black sailors who sustained injury and were beaten were not talked to.
Wow.
And they were excluded like completely from the interviews.
That's insane.
Even when it was clear that the white sailors were the ones who were perpetuating that violence as well, and it wasn't just one-sided. So all of this continued to reflect the racial imbalances on the USS Kitty Hawk. And the article also noted that crucial testimony was left out of the trials, ultimately leading to unfair convictions of the Black sailors.
Oh my God.
So one of the reports on the riots concluded, quote, "The subcommittee is of the position that the riot on Kitty Hawk consisted of unprovoked assaults by a very few men, most of whom were below average mental capacity, most of whom had been aboard for less than 1 year, and all of whom were Black. This group, as a whole, acted as thugs, which raises doubt as to whether they should ever have been accepted into military service in the first place."
Wow. 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 Thugs. That's familiar.
Below average mental capacity, right? So there's all these excuses, and it just
except they were okay to go serve though, right? But they were okay to be on the boat and like risk their lives.
Now they're saying, oh, they should have never been in there.
Yeah, right.
It stinks.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're drafting people because nobody wants to serve. You shouldn't even be out there. Jesus.
So after all of the media, after all of the stuff, most of the charges end up being dismissed. But everyone charged ends up receiving like honorable discharges, so they're like out, you know. And so again, for some of these men, like this is, you know, a potential career, right, where you can do something and have a lifelong career, or be able to have the GI Bill or whatever it is, and now that's gone.
Jesus.
So some of the aftermath: 50 sailors sustained injuries, 44 white, 6 Black. Most of them sustained very serious injuries. Riots and protests began to break out on other ships.
What?
After this.
Holy shit.
An investigation was launched. And the findings, instead of it being about race, they concluded that it was because the Navy was too permissive and needed to enforce rules more strongly. So it was like, oh, you're not straight. It's not like the Navy, or not the Navy, the Marines. Like, we're not
so
tough on these guys. Like, and we need to be tougher. And that's what the problem is, rather than like, there's probably something else going on here.
It reminds me of the Zoot Suit riots.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to blame everything else, but actually these sailors were racist.
Yeah.
For beating up people of color. Like, it's Eleanor Roosevelt is, what did they call, communist, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's a commie.
Yeah.
And everything except, let's address racism. Which is why we're still here where we are today. Because nobody ever wants to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, so the one thing that did happen, like, these riots were absolutely awful and terrible, but it did place the racial injustice that was happening in the Navy in the public eye.
Yeah.
And so, like, some attention is starting to get drawn to it. And then I did find an article that noted that Avenger, after being discharged, he ends up, like, falling into drug use.
Oh!
I know, he was incarcerated a few times.
Oh, fuck, man.
But he ends up finishing a degree in social work, and he ultimately ended up working and helping folks as a drug and alcohol counselor.
Oh, amazing.
But I just wonder, like, what would his life have been like if that racial tension, you know, wasn't there? Would he have completed his time? Would he have, you know, what, you know, because he seems like he's someone that had the power to be a leader, because he rallied these guys, he stood up for himself, you know, like, what, like, that potential, it sucks.
That's a shame.
And then, so, some points of interest, the thing I thought was crazy is, like, you know, they're fighting till 2:30 in the morning, right? People were getting beat. It's crazy on board. The next morning, the ship just, it's like, they just continue, and they are on time with the launching of stuff from the deck. Like, they just, like, go back into their mode.
It's the military.
It is wild.
We've got a mission to do.
And they're in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
Like, there's a war happening. They're like, we got to launch stuff. But
Holy
meanwhile,
shit.
they're up till 2:30 in the morning, like fighting each other, and then they just go back to work. It's wackadoodle.
Yeah.
It's wackadoodle.
Probably also why they're so fucked, because it's to be confined like that is really gonna mess with your mental health.
It's wild.
I wonder if they consider any of that now, like testing or like studying how long someone's been on a boat and what's the length before you actually
before
like
you gotta pull them.
Yeah, we gotta
I'm
take them out because they can get a little wacky.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So in the end, Navy leadership was encouraged to fix inequality by providing more training and therefore access to new higher level jobs. So like they tried to fix the situation. And then in 2022, the USS Kitty Hawk was sent to the scrapyard. So, I mean,
wow.
Yeah. Not wild. Like it just last year they broke it up and sold it for parts.
Wow.
Yeah.
My dad was on the USS Enterprise.
Oh.
And my mom, for Christmas last year, got him, I guess they put a yearbook out.
Oh.
Forgive me, I think it's every year. And so for Christmas, she had found online the book where he was in it. And so he opened it in front of us, and it was, I gotta tell you, I'm not that, like, I don't know, emotional about things like this, but my dad opens the book, he flipped a couple pages, and he goes, there I am. And I was like, what? And it was him holding, like, this rope on the deck, and I was like, I started to get tears in my eyes.
So did she know that he was going to be in it? Like, was she able to, like,
yes, because I guess his mother had the book, and of course it's gone. So she knew about the book. But he always told, the only thing we ever knew about my dad on the USS Enterprise is that he shook John F. Kennedy's hand. Oh. Because John F. Kennedy came aboard to, like,
that's so
bless
awesome.
the ship or whatever. Like, he came aboard, and my dad was, he shook his hand, yeah. But it was so weird to see him in this book.
I want to do this for somebody that I know.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was really, I mean.
Very cool.
Amazing.
Don't you love that? My son was telling me yesterday, he was like, he asked if my mother had told me what she had found, because, she's like kind of cleaning out and going through stuff, and I think she found like an old wallet of my dad's, something.
Yeah.
And inside was like before they were married, like a little photo booth, where you go in.
Yeah, cool.
From like 1970
I love this.
Something,
Oh my god.
And I was like, I can't wait to see it.
Oh, I have that thing framed.
Isn't it cute? So I'm like, I'm so excited to see to see them in that.
It's amazing.
I don't know. I love a photo booth. Have you ever done like photo booth pictures?
Yes.
There used to be one over at the wharf.
There used to be one. Oh, the one that I remember doing was in. I just realized my shirt's backwards. I was in one in Orlando with some friends like years and years ago. Oh,
I have one with my dear friend Medea. Medea. I have like the little strip. It's me and her, and then I have one with like someone from many moons ago. But it's so cute to see because just like
oh my god,
I don't know, just the quality of it and the way it looks, and like you could tell you're in the booth, and like and the silly faces, and like it's just so.
And there's something about holding a photo now, which is not something we do anymore. My mom has a photo album, and I'm just like, well, I uploaded them somewhere. Like they're somewhere on a computer. So you know what I mean? I don't have like a book.
I don't either. I mean, I have books from when my kids were babies, and then I just stopped developing,
Yeah.
And my firstborn, my God.
Yeah.
It's just like, I took so many, just picture
same.
after picture after picture after picture. But even those, it's like, I don't even know where those photo albums are.
I know. That's what I mean. Like we don't.
But now,
it sucks too because I used to love.
Yes.
I still love going to my mom's and like flipping through the photo booths. I mean the photo albums.
Yeah. But there's somebody was telling me that you can make these books where you just like upload your pictures and they'll mail it, and it's like not that expensive.
My sister-in-law did that.
I was like, maybe I should do that, like just go back and make these little books just so that we have something.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's very expensive either.
No, not
They're
anymore.
good quality.
It used to be expensive, but I think now, because who's printing?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But... And like I used to like the disposable cameras.
Yeah.
And even like at my wedding, even though like it was early 2000s or whatever, like where people were still doing cell phones or whatever, like we put disposable cameras on every table, like 1 or 2 of them. I can't remember how many, but it was like at every table there were some. And then it was just like take whatever pictures. So then I have a separate album of like everyone, like, cause like you have like the professional pictures.
Yeah.
But then it's like these fun random pictures of people being silly.
Yeah.
And like,
that is fun.
Yeah.
So are you coming up on 20 years married?
No.
No?
We're 16. It'll be 16 years.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good run, honey.
16 years.
I gotta tell you, one of my favorite things, and also makes me cry every single day, is, I read the paper every day, is the obituaries. And if it's a long obituary, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Like, I just want to see. And I read, and it's always like survived by, or married to the love of their life. And it's always like they were married for 50 or 60. It is, and the things that they've done, or their children, named children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. And I just think about their life, and like what a life. 50, 60 years is incredible.
That's wild to me. I mean, I got married a little older, so I'm like, I don't know
me
if
too.
we'll ever make it that far. But
still.
Yeah, like my grandma and my grandpa were married for, I think she was like 18 or 19. They were married forever.
It's incredible.
And I think the story, one of the stories goes that, because they were in this little town in Italy.
Yeah.
And he was a few years older than her, and he saw her, but she was young. She was like, I don't know, 12, and like joking around with her, he's like, I'm going to marry you one day. And she ran all the way home. She ran all the way home, was like, no!
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then, of course, they got married. And they were always cute. Like, they were always sort of couples goals for me, because, like, my grandfather was just, like, very, just, like, affectionate and funny, and he would, I just, like, he would, like, tease her and, like, make her laugh, and she would be like, get away. And so I have a few pictures of that, like, in those interactions that I love.
I'm gonna start crying.
Don't cry. But I love it so much. I love it so much. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
I can't help it.
I know, but it's just beautiful. I don't know. All right. So on that note, we're going to leave you in tears.
Happy 200 episodes. Happy 200 episodes.
Oh my God.
You did this last week. We were literally talking last week, and she was telling me how when she looks at her husband.
Oh, did I do this?
Not on the air, but she told me off the air.
Oh.
And what she feels when she looks at him, and I was like, wow! Because, I don't know. I love love, but I think I've come to terms with the fact that, like, I have been very lucky to have loved so many times. Not like it's a dozen, but like a handful. And I feel like lucky. Like, my story isn't going to be an obituary with like 50 years. Like, I know that. And so, but, and that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. But I would love to have like that monumental.
Yeah, that lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I want that so badly. I know, it's crazy, but...
No, it's beautiful.
And it is, and I love to see it. Like, I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because, like, I never saw grandparents like that. I know that my mother's parents were like that. Like, they ran away and got married because she was Italian and Catholic, and he was, like, Protestant or something. And so they had to run away to get married. They left a note for her dad. And she's like, sorry, Daddy. And my mom has that letter where she's like, sorry, Daddy, but Richard, like, ran off to get married. And they had to come back, and he's like, okay, but you have to, now you have to get married to the church. Like, enough with this bullshit, right? So, but they had that. And I never saw it because she passed away before I died, but I know they had that sort of love. So I love to hear stories like that.
So my other grandmother, because my father's mother and father, my dad was a teenager when my grandfather passed away.
Oh my God.
But they used to, the story that I always heard about them was they used to call them Romeo and Juliet in the town. Like, the townspeople used to say they're Romeo and Juliet. And I was like, isn't that cute?
Oh, it's very cute.
It's just, and then even seeing, I can't watch them all the time because I get upset.
See?
We're
What
too
is this?
emotional. What are we doing?
You know what I wrote down for a title? Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And I
Blood, Sweat,
think
and
that
Tears.
might be the episode 200
But like seeing like
style.
the old videos make me sad too, because you see like it's you see like seeing like my family members when I was not even a thought in anyone's brain, and you see like their life and their existence, and it's just it's wild.
It's wild, and it's also like a part of who you are.
Yeah.
So when you tell the stories like Romeo and Juliet, like if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't be here,
it's
right?
crazy.
Like so,
It's
It's if my grandparents hadn't taken that chance and ran off together to defy her parents, like I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like that, the power of love and what it can do
It's wild.
is it creates these families and beautiful like you know it's just it's life changing. And I want that. Like I want life changing fucking love. And I'm ready. Like
let's
what
do
the
it.
fuck?
You're gonna do it. Let's go. Oh, all right. So now on that note,
by the way, go fuck yourself. All right, like what the fuck are you still doing listening to this podcast? You're gonna listen to these old ladies crying now? We should be crying about Biden not winning the election.
There's enough time for those tears, trust me.
Let me tell you something. Election night, we better be getting fucking drunk. All I know is we better be drinking on election night.
I don't even know how I'm going to handle election night.
No.
No, we have to all be together.
No, absolutely.
We have to all, all of our group.
Yeah.
We have to all be together in a room.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying, like, put the sleeping bags out.
Everybody get a bottle.
The night.
Everybody bring a bottle.
We're spending the night somewhere's house. Hi, Emma.
Yeah. I was going to say I'll launch at my house, but I'd rather be at Emma's house because at least James can make us food.
James will be cooking for us all night.
He'll throw spaghetti at us as we're crying. Let's just go to Emma's house.
We'll be at Emma's house.
Yeah.
And we're all going to have sleeping bags.
Yeah.
And we're staying.
And we're never leaving. Hi, I live here now. Daisy's jumping over us. Like, this is where I sleep, bitch. Like, I can't help it, Daisy.
So that's the plan. All right, it's 1 year in advance. Get ready.
It's a good plan.
Get ready.
It's a good plan. Can we go do that now, though?
Yes.
Can we also do it now? All right, let's go out of here.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.